Okay, so I'm going to teach a little bit about closures. So closures are really cool because it's passing around functionality in your program that you can use right then. And a lot of times closures are used for when you are done completing something, then you'd run a closure after it completed. But so the sorting function, what the sort function is it takes in a closure. So you can pass in functionalities like this backwards or forwards, and it'll take that functionality and apply it to how you want it sorted. And then a lot of these are just different ways you can write the same thing, and it just shows how cool that Swift is, that you can imply everything that's going on to the point that you can get it down to just that. And so that makes closures really powerful and cool. And then the different kinds of ways you can write closures is that you can write a closure that's like an inline closure like this inside the parentheses, and it's recommended you only use it inside the parentheses if it's just going to be inline. As long as it's on one line, do it this way. If it's going to be more than one line, then put it after your function. And so then that helps the readability of it, so you don't confusing the parameters things.
I do have a question for you. How is this working?
So yeah, so this is kind of cool. So we have our numbers.map, and so
you're mapping each digital number to each string.
I think map maps functionality, right?
That adds functionality.
Yeah, so he's mapping this functionality to each one of those things in the array.
Oh.
Right?
So I am, and so in the end, this returns, I'm trying, well, this is,
see, because he could write the map within like the parentheses. It's a function. Because I remember Brother Barney talked about it at the beginning of the semester. And but he's just leaving off the parentheses right here because you don't need them because there's nothing inside of it. He could put the whole closure inside of the parentheses. So, so what he's doing is he's mapping this whole functionality right here to each thing in his numbers array, and then he's assigning it to a string.
Okay.
And then just what this does is takes the, so 16 would be the first one, you know, we find the remainder of it, and so the remainder of 16 divided by 10 would be 6, and so we get 6, and then output's nothing right now, and then we divide the 6 out, and so then the next thing we have is 1, and so then when we come in here and we just say, okay, 1 divided by 10, the remainder is 1. And then we put 1 plus the 6 because we would have 6 here, so we put the 1 in front of it. And then you get 1 6. And then you divide the 1 out, and then it's 0, so then it stops and it returns it into that first place. And then it just does the same thing for the next two. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And yeah, that's funny because actually I understand all the stuff that was going on in here, but I didn't realize from the code online just mapping that to that. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I just remember him talking about map. It's just all it does is it maps functionality to whatever you pass it to. So he's just mapping his closure after it to his dictionary or whatever he made right there. So
in case anyone's curious, Ruby does that exact same thing. That's funny. And then this one's kind of cool, being able to have a nested function in a function and being able to pass a parameter and having this variable in here. We're able to have this nested function, and it has the variables inside here, and these aren't pass by value. These are passed by reference. And so even once we have these over here, it still references those same two things that were originally called. So then we built this new function, increment by 10, pass it something else, and then we have another new function, increment by 5. And we built those with the same function, and they do the same thing but differently. So I really thought that was cool. And then escapes, no escapes, and the auto closures. Escapes is just making, you can use that closure functionality even after your function has closed. And so that's nice, so it can escape out of the function. And no escape closure is the functionality has to stay within that function scope. You can't get out of the function scope. And even in the function scope, you can't pass it to do things asynchronously, and you can't set it to anything else. So pretty much you pass it in and use it. And then it's nice because this gives us lots of optimization in our code, because then Swift knows, oh, I'm never going to be using this outside of the function call, so I'm just going to optimize it, so once it's done there, it just gets collected with everything else. And you also don't have to type self in front of it if you're using it inside of classes. And then auto closure is just auto wrapping the curly braces for you, kind of like another implied thing. And an auto closure by default is a no escape closure when you pass it through a parameter. And if you want it to be an escape closure, you have to pass this escaping thing inside your auto closure attribute. So then you can use that functionality later on as well. But you guys have any other questions about closures?
Nope. I know who to talk to.
Okay, then that is that.